right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll begin. Adequate notice of this July the 14th, 2016 meeting has been provided in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act by posting written notice and agenda of the meeting on the bulletin board in the Municipal Building, 1000 Route 10, Township of Hanover, and by hand delivering, mailing, or faxing such notice and agenda to the following newspapers: Morris County's Daily Record. I agree. Morris County's Daily Record, the Star Ledger, Hanover Eagle, and by filing same with the Township Clerk. May I have a roll call?
Committeeman Gallagher.
Here.
Committeeman Ferramosca.
Here.
Committeeman Bruno.
Here.
Committeeman Capola.
Here.
And Mayor Francioli.
Aye, here.
5 members in attendance.
And our youngest member is here. In attendance, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, would you all please rise, those that can, and join me in a pledge of allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Please be seated, and we'll begin. First order of business, promotional resolutions. And Mr. Administrator, resolution promoting
Okay, the first resolution.
Sergeant Michael Lockie, right?
Resolution promoting Sergeant Michael Locke to the rank and position of Lieutenant, effective August 1st, 2016. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Bruno. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramosca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Absolutely.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
And the second resolution is a resolution promoting Patrolman Robert Carpenter to the rank and position of Sergeant, effective August 1st, 2016. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for approval, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Ferramosca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved.
Gentlemen, congratulations. We're going to ask you to come forward for the oath of office. And we'll start with our lieutenant. Michael, where are you? Here. Joseph? George? Go ahead.
Just like you.
That's great. The kids wonderful. It's wonderful.
And repeat after me. I, Michael Locke,
I, Michael Locke,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly
that I
swear
will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States and in the state,
and to the governments established in the United States and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform all the duties of the office of lieutenant,
and justly perform all the duties of the office of lieutenant,
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Very good. Mike, good luck.
Thank you.
Very good. Mike will fill out the ranks of our lieutenants on that vacancy, and now we're about to fill out the ranks on our sergeants. Robert, where are you? There he is.
I, Robert Carpenter,
I, Robert
do
Carpenter,
solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the state of New Jersey,
and the state of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and in this state,
and in this state,
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the
and that I
people,
will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully, impartially,
and justly perform all the duties of the office of sergeant,
and justly perform all the duties of the office of sergeant
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Sergeant.
Very well. Very good. Very good. Okay. Thank you, fellas. Thanks for the support that the officers give us. Where are you? Where are you? Lieutenant? Okay. There you go. Maybe he's not. It's okay with me. Yeah. That's fine. We'll give everybody a few minutes to clear the room, right? Before we open to the public. How you doing, Jim? You're working hard, boy. You're working hard. Holy mackerel. Saw you last night, now today. Oh my gosh. We're gonna put you on the payroll. You could have my you could have my salary. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we just want to give everyone a chance to get settled down, and nice celebration of a new lieutenant, a new sergeant. They fill out our ranks after the retirement of Chief Gallagher and retirement of Lieutenant Plessis, and
We still have more to go.
everybody moves up. Everybody moves up the ladder, so that's fine. That works out good. Okay, gentlemen, at this time, motion to open to the public for any items not appearing on the agenda. Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open. Anyone who would like to address the Township Committee at this time could do so from the podium, giving us your name and address for the record.
Hi, good evening. Doug Falcone, 21 Hilltop Circle, Morristown.
Mr. Falcone, if you're going to speak about the ordinance number 18, then at the time we have the public hearing, you would speak then, if that's what you're going to speak about.
I just, so tell me if this is the time. So I sent a letter in referring to some additional questions.
Correct.
Do you want to hear those now or later?
That you should address under ordinance number 18.
There'll be an opportunity. We're going to open the
Fine.
floor on the ordinance.
Fine, thank you.
Okay, you can come right back to that. Anyone else who'd like to be heard at this time?
Hi, Ron Sorrell, 21 Adams Drive. I was just wondering on the MetLife building. I went to Town Hall today, looked at the blueprints of the blacktop sidewalk on Whippany Road.
Oh, yeah.
Is that staying blacktop, or is that going to be removed and
My
put as
understanding, and I'll let the Director of Planning answer that, but my understanding is that that's part of a connectivity plan, part of Patriots Path type of movement that's going to go from the Morris County Mall area or the Frelinghuysen Arboretum area all through town up to that area. But John, do you have any other comments on that?
No, yeah, that's part of the connectivity path that the developer was obligated to build. What it'll have is it's a multimodal path that allows bicyclists and pedestrians to occupy that space, that path.
Okay, now, is that going to cause any problems like on somebody on Whippany Road who has to repair their sidewalk? Are they going to be able to come back and say, well, concrete costs $100 a ton, where asphalt only costs $45 or $50 a ton to fix it, so I'll patch it with blacktop and make the town look like black and white going down the streets, which isn't going to look too nice. I just want to make sure that it's not going to make the town start getting people up in a roar like, why is that blacktop? Why can't I put blacktop where my curb
Well, I think
is?
you have a good question, relative to blacktop, et cetera. Why
I
was
mean,
that?
this is part of the connectivity plan that has specific routes that will achieve that treatment, so it's not township-wide in terms of every property can do this. It's, it's an infrastructure program that the town's putting together and putting in place. So it's not everywhere. It's specific areas of the town, certain routes. And we're doing it in a phased manner.
Okay, is it going to stay black, or are they going to like stamp it with?
No, it's going to stay, it's black, but it's going to have additional treatments in terms of some painting to identify. There'll be additional signage to identify that you're on the Hanover Be Fit path, I think is what is going to be called. There'll be signage to let you know where you are and where your destination might be. So there are other elements to this.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay?
Is that a, versus concrete, is that a recommended surface?
Yes, it is. The asphalt is the
Yeah.
recommended surface
Yeah.
for it.
Okay. Sir, name
Good
and address.
evening. Good evening. Nick Rassiopi. I'm with the law firm of Riker Danzig. I represent JMF, and I wondered if this is an appropriate time. We wanted to introduce Mon to give a short presentation. I know there's been a lot of
You
discussion.
know what I'd like to do, Counselor,
Sure.
if it's okay with your client? I understand you do want to make a presentation, and I think the Township Committee is willing to provide some time. We do have an agenda. We can get through it rather promptly. We'll open once again toward the end of the agenda.
That's fantastic,
And then
Mayor.
you can have the floor.
Thank you very much.
Certainly. Okay. Anyone else would like to be heard at this time? There'll be another opportunity toward the end of the meeting, but if you'd like to be heard at this time, the floor is still open. Hearing none. Seeing
to
none.
close.
Motion for close, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Administrator.
Okay, we have the approval of Township Committee minutes. We have several big committee minutes from 2015 that need to be approved. February 24th, 2015, April 7th, 2015, April 21st, 2015, and August 25th, 2015. The Township's regular meeting minutes of June the 9th, 2016, the bid committee minutes of June 22nd, 2016, and the bid committee minutes of July 6th, 2016. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Ladies and gentlemen, we have one communication. This is a submission of a notice of retirement from Lieutenant James Peslis, effective September 1st. And the memorandum is to Chief Mark Roddy from Lieutenant Peslis. It's dated June 27th, and it reads as follows. Chief Roddy, it is with mixed emotions that I am submitting my 60-day notice of intent to retire. My retirement will be effective September 1st, 2016. My excitement of starting a new chapter in my life is tempered by the idea of ending a chapter that included over 27 years in law enforcement, serving the public and rising through the ranks, raising a family, and growing as a person. It has been an honor to serve the people that live, work, and travel through Hanover Township during my career. I am thankful for the opportunities I was afforded while working here and the recognition I received for my effort and accomplishments. The friendships I have made with members of this department, as well as the community, will stay with me for the rest of my life. I want to express my gratitude for the guidance and support I have received throughout the years from members of the Township Administration and the Township Committee in doing my job. Mr. Giorgio and Mr. Esposito have been a particularly invaluable resource when it came to public administration and financial matters. Finally, I want to thank you personally for always being a fair supervisor to me and a great source of knowledge along the way. I appreciate the opportunity I was given to pursue my professional growth through academics, training, and assignments. I've always tried to give back to the job what the job has done for me, and I hope I have done that. I wish you the best of luck as you continue to lead our department, and know that I stand ready to help in any way that I can. Stay safe. Signed, Lieutenant James Peslis. So in accordance with our procedure and policy,
Motion to accept the letter.
a motion
Second.
to accept the letter,
Yeah.
second by Mr. Capola. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved.
Jim has been a wonderful asset on the department and in the technical areas of our township. He was the go-to guy every time a computer screen went black. So very, very valuable guy to us.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have the next portion of business deals with advising the public of various reports from departments which are available for inspection in the Department of Administration. The first is the annual report for 2015 on all cases heard before the Board of Adjustment. We have the report of the Township's Chief Municipal Finance Officer serving as treasurer with his summary of budget revenues as of June the 14th. The Township's Property Maintenance Officer has submitted 2 reports of all her activities during the month of June and through July the 11th. The Township's Superintendent of Public Works, Buildings and Grounds and Park Maintenance has submitted reports of all projects and activities conducted by the department during the months of May and June. The Township's Human Resource Specialist has submitted her reports of all her activities for May and June. And the construction official has submitted his report of all building inspections, construction permits that have been issued, and certificates of occupancy for the period beginning period beginning May 1st through May 31st, 2016. And finally, the township engineer has submitted the report of all projects conducted by the engineering department as of today, July 14th. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we continue with the agenda. We have 3 ordinances for public hearing and consideration of adoption. The first is docketed as ordinance number 18-2016. This ordinance would amend and supplement Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township, entitled Land Use and Development Legislation, by amending the procedures for review and approval of certain development applications. The ordinance was filed with the Morris County Planning Board. We also published the notice, including the notice of publication, in the June 1st issue of the Daily Record. And finally, we have the letter of recommendation, which is on file from the Planning Board, having reviewed the ordinance, and they recommend its adoption. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, may we have a motion to convene the public hearing?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Bruno, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Fermaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Is there anyone in chambers wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 18-2016? Name and address for the record, please.
Doug Falcone, 21 Hilltop Circle, Morristown. I had submitted a letter after our last meeting wanting to clarify the procedure. I never heard anything back and don't know what the procedure is going to be, so if I get some clarification.
Okay, that letter was addressed to Mr. Branchow, so perhaps Mr. Branchow would want to address those comments.
I received the letter from Mr. Falcone. A copy was sent to the administrator. The ordinance that's being heard essentially allows for certain changes of use which heretofore would be required to go to the planning board for a full site plan to be heard by the site plan exemption committee. That's all. It's just a procedural change in which agency would hear those cases. Mr. Falcone's letter asked for a number of changes to the general site plan exemption committee function. I forwarded the letter with the understanding that any response to his request would have to be made by the township committee. Many of these would either have to be done by ordinance or could be done in some cases by just directing the committee informally to act. The requests largely have to do with expediting the review period for zoning approvals or site plan exemption approvals, as well as fee refunding in the case of a denial. In my opinion, those issues are better dealt with in a separate ordinance that would be apart from the one that's before the public tonight. And those really should be discussed between the committee itself and the township committee, so that the township committee...
Is this a land use ordinance? This has got to go back to...
We have what's called a site plan exemption committee, and the issues that Mr. Falcone raises in his letter really are not specific to the ordinance before the public and before the committee tonight. They're related more to the general function of the site plan exemption committee as a whole. And the ordinance tonight just deals with one issue in transferring jurisdiction from the planning board to the site plan exemption committee. Mr. Falcone's issues largely have to do with how long it takes the site plan exemption committee to deal with all applications, not just on that particular issue.
Is it suggesting putting a calendar on that?
Basically putting a time limit for them to act, to expedite things, and he's asking for a quicker turnaround on applications.
See, it's a little nebulous to me now. I mean, you're not telling us any, or the request isn't telling me anything.
Well,
If I can be
Mr.
more
Falcone
specific.
asked for, in his letter, he asked for the application turnaround within 1 week.
Let's start at the planning. Once we file a set of documents to the building department, it normally takes 30 to 45 days to get an approval or denial. But if it's just a zoning, it's just a matter of reading the letter of what the prospective tenant wants to do without going through sewer, water, construction, health, and so on. That can be turned around in a week, because then I've got to get on the docket to, if I still think it should be seen and heard by the board, get on that docket. But to wait 45 days to get a denial and then start the process all over again, some of these tenants are only there for a year.
Well, the statute, as far as zoning permits goes, the statute has already set the time frame from that. It's 10 days, all right? It's business days, but it's 10 days. It's set by statute. As far as the site plan exemption committee, there is nothing in the statute that sets the time limit for them to act. And before any decision were to be made on that, I think we would need to get the input of the construction official, who is the chairperson of that committee, as well, because the site plan exemption committee is largely...
Well, if it's established by statute, what latitude do you have to...
I'm talking about, there's two issues. One is the zoning permit, which doesn't require site plan at all.
Correct.
And the other one is site plan exemption, where some things that would otherwise have to go to the planning board for a site plan can be exempted if the site plan exemption committee reviews them and says, these are no-brainer issues, they're minor, we can approve that.
Understood.
So the one issue of the zoning permit, the deadline for that is already established by statute, all right? And we
If that's 10 days, I can live with 10 days.
it's 10 business days.
That's
So
fine.
That could be 2 weeks.
As long, so it's not 45 days and then start the process all over just because the use didn't approve. But meanwhile, the documents are going through the entire town, everyone's looked at it, and come back, and it was already denied, really, at the building department for the zoning. It slows paper flow down.
Well, like I said,
So
zoning
if
permits...
it's 10 days, I'm good with that.
That for zoning permits. Now, site plan exemption, that really depends upon the nature of the application, because ones that are simple and straightforward, that don't require much department input, those can be handled relatively quickly. Ones that are more complicated, require input from health, require input from sewage authority and so forth, they may take a little longer, and that's why it's hard to give a straight answer that applies in all cases.
Well,
to give you,
you want to consult with the buildings department on the...
I think we need to consult with the building department to get an idea of how long they believe it should take, and if the committee wants to put in the ordinance that it must act within that deadline. Right now, there's no deadline.
Again, if it's 10 days, I'm okay with that.
Again, I don't know what they feel is an appropriate time, and that's why it's difficult.
But if the zoning says it's supposed to be 10 days, it's got to be...
I'm talking about site plan exemption, not zoning.
Okay,
Zoning is
sorry.
10 days, it's 10 days.
Okay.
The state said that. We
But
can't
if the zoning goes through and it's got to weave through the process after that, then I'm okay.
Well, site plan exemption is going to look at zoning.
All right, this is a matter, all right, what we have is a confirmation that we'll take it up with the building inspector and come up with a conclusion for you. If there's a way that we can reasonably do this without affecting the process and do it accurately, expeditiously, we want to. Again, when do you think you can provide an answer for...
I can certainly have an answer for the next meeting.
Will it affect this...
I don't think it should affect your decision on this ordinance.
Nothing substantial?
This doesn't affect the substance of this ordinance. I would, if the committee is going to adopt this ordinance, I would suggest you adopt that. If Mr. Falcone's suggestions after discussion require ordinance amendments, I would do that as a separate ordinance, not as part of this.
Is that satisfactory?
That's fine. And then
I won't be here, but I could certainly have an ordinance ready on this.
the other question I have is, so I understand the process, how often and what's the process to get on to the exemption committee Do they meet?
They meet as needed. If they don't have any applications, they don't meet. If they have 5 applications,
So
they meet
what is
more
the,
frequently.
what will be my application process? Will I come to the construction official, and then if they deny my application, I then have to set up a meeting with the exemption committee?
If you don't get if you're denied because you violate zoning, the site plan exemption committee cannot approve you. You'd have to go for a variance for a board. If they say you comply, but we think there's issues that the board has to hear, and
That's
they deny you for that reason, then you have to get a site plan approval from the board.
But again, I thought the process of this ordinance was going to allow an exemption committee to hear something that I felt should be approved, and the town,
This ordinance is dealing with a specific section of the code where there's mixed uses.
Agreed.
That could conflict with each other.
Agreed.
All right? And obviously, there's a review process for that. Right now, the ordinance requires whenever those uses are in the same building or the same site,
Look.
they have to go to the
We're going to
board.
get into a discussion on ordinance here, then I'm going to suggest you two gentlemen maybe take a conference room and talk it out, because we're not going to hear this.
This
whole-
is streamlining that process.
All right,
Understand?
okay, so,
we're
but
not
how
gonna-
do I get to the stream? I don't understand the process of the streamlining. In other words,
I can
Why don't you two
explain.
gentlemen
Fine.
get together in a better understanding of the process so this gentleman can understand that?
Right.
You want to do that?
Sure.
You want to set a date
with
and
the building
time
department.
to get together, rather than hold a hearing here
Fine.
tonight on it? You want to
Did we
move on
hear
the
this
ordinance?
same request back in April or May? I think this gentleman was before us
And
at
that's
the
why this-
previous meeting, and from recollection, and I missed the June meeting, so I apologize, but it seems like this is an instant replay. I think we owe him more of a concrete answer on how to
Thank you.
proceed.
Well,
On how to proceed. I think we've
I
given
just
him a
want to know
lot
how
of
to thread the
days.
needle.
I mean, if we can't approve it, let's tell them we can't approve it.
the
but-
process is, for getting a site plan exemption is already in the ordinance.
It doesn't say what application I need. I don't have it. All I have is what was sent to me. And I had no response to my letter, or else I'd be more prepared.
Technical areas that these-
I know, but it's 2 months.
You know, I just would like to say something also, if I could. We did discuss this after you left that meeting, and this is exactly why we're doing what we're doing, to address, your term streamline is great, because we spoke about it afterwards. Like Ron said, I think you and Blaze could work out the nuts and bolts and the specifics, but this is to make some of your concerns more streamlined and make more sense on both sides of the desk. But as far as the specifics on how fast you can get your case heard, like Ron said, that's what you and Blaze have to discuss. That hasn't been discussed.
We can't walk away with an answer for you here at on the committee level.
I would just direct you to section 166-58 of the land use ordinance, which has the whole procedure for filing a site plan exemption application.
Is that represented with the lawyer? Is this the
Nope.
streamlined, or is it the, okay, so I don't have that
Can we
ordinance.
make a copy of this for this
Fine.
gentleman?
I'll make you a copy. and
Okay.
I'll send it to you. Do you have your email on your letterhead?
I do.
I don't see
If
it.
not, I've sent you emails as well. You've got it in your file.
Okay, send it. I'll get it, or if I need to, I'll make it.
And I'd love to speak with you outside to get some clarification, so I understand exactly what has to be done, so I can perform to what the town needs to get this thing, because candidly, if you read the ordinance, and my frustration is this, I'm up to 40% vacancy and growing. If you read the two, I'm not so sure what I can put in there. So this exemption committee is the only way I can understand what uses I can put next to what use. Because when you put warehouse in there, well, that's all I am, warehouse. Now you've got warehouse, gym, fitness center, and it knocks everybody out. The applications are just getting discarded, and I'm trying to do the right thing by not evicting tenants or not renewing tenants, but it's a serious problem. And I understand what the town needs to do to protect themselves, but I've got a business to protect as well.
And the whole purpose of this ordinance is to try to expedite.
Okay, so I need to know those defining lines so I can play between the rules. So I'll speak outside. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor remains open. Anyone else would like to address the committee at this time?
On ordinance number 18-2016, any other comments? Okay, hearing none, seeing none, may we have a motion?
Motion to close.
Have a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Now on adoption, be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover, amending and supplementing Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township entitled Land Use and Development Legislation by amending the procedures for review and approval of certain development applications be passed on final reading, and that a notice of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the July 20th issue of the Morris County Daily Record. May we now have a motion on adoption?
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Faramaska, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for adoption. Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye, it streamlines the process. It helps those business owners trying to fill their properties.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
It's streamlined, but he can't seem to get the answer on how does it streamline it. Yes.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So approved and adopted.
There's multiple uses in the warehouse area? You know, this issue, I'm sure Blaze is meeting with this gentleman. We're going to try and get him some answers. But I have to address something. I mean, we're coming into an era now where warehouse uses in our zoning that were usually a solitary user for a warehouse. Warehouses are now going condo, and you're getting 3, 4, 5, 10 users in a warehouse, and all coming in with different needs for signage, different needs for their own particular use in that warehouse environment, which was never the intention of the zone when we created it. But I think the planning board is trying to address this along the way, and does want to make it easier for tenants to come in, but I'm sure that our planner will come up with some recommendation for the Township Committee as to how we can streamline this process. But,
Okay, as we continue, ladies and gentlemen, ordinance number 19-2016. This authorizes the purchase of one new X-Mark ride-on mower for the Public Works, Buildings and Grounds and Park Maintenance Department, and further appropriates the sum of $12,500 from the Township's 2016 Capital Improvement Fund and all prior years for the financing of the mower. We have proof of publication that the ordinance and the notice of introduction appeared in full in the June 15th issue of the Daily Record. May we now have a motion to convene the public hearing?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Bruno.
Second.
Second by Mr. Capola. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
aye.
Is there anyone present wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 19-2016?
Move that we close.
Okay.
Second.
Seeing none, hearing none, we have a motion to close the public hearing. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska. Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola. And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
Now on adoption, be it resolved that an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the Township Committee authorizing the purchase of one X-Mark ride-on mower for the Public Works, Buildings and Grounds, and Park Maintenance Department, and further appropriating the sum of $12,500 from the Township's 2016 Capital Improvement Fund in all prior years for the financing of the mower be passed on final reading, and that a notice of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the July 20th issue of the Daily Record. May we now have a motion on adoption?
So moved.
Mr. Capola, seconded by Mr. Francioli. On roll call for adoption, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramaska.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Francioli.
Aye.
So adopted. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, next ordinance for consideration of adoption and public hearing is docketed on page 2 of your agenda as ordinance number 20-2016, which would amend and supplement Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township entitled Land Use and Development Legislation by amending the regulations for institutional uses. We have the proof of publication that the ordinance and the notice of introduction appeared in full in the June 15th issue of the Daily Record. We also have a letter from the Morris County Planning Board notifying us that in accordance with the municipal land use law, the ordinance was filed with the county. And we also have a letter recommendation from the Township's Planning Board upon referral of the ordinance from the Township Committee, recommending the approval of ordinance number 20. So at this time, may we have a motion to convene the public hearing?
So moved.
Have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Faramasca, seconded by Mr. Capola. On roll call, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciolo.
Aye.
Is there anyone present wishing to be heard concerning ordinance number 20-2016? Okay, seeing none, hearing
Motion
none,
to
may we have a
close.
motion to close by Mr. Bruno?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call to close the public hearing, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciolo.
Aye.
Now, on adoption, be it resolved that an ordinance entitled An Ordinance of the Township Committee, amending and supplementing Chapter 166 of the Code of the Township entitled Land Use and Development Legislation by amending the regulations for institutional uses, be passed on final reading, and that a notice of the final passage of the ordinance be published in the July 20th issue of the Daily Record. May we now have a motion on adoption?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Faramasca, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. On roll call for adoption, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciolo.
Aye.
So adopted. Original. Traded it.
Sal, stay awake, will you?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue with the agenda, we have one ordinance for introduction that does not appear on your agenda, as it was discussed by the governing body during its conference work session. This is docketed as ordinance number 21-2016. It's an ordinance of the Township Committee of the Township of Hanover, authorizing the performance of monument gravestone restoration work, including related appurtenances at the Whippany Burying Yard, the employment of a firm specializing in the restoration and preservation of interment monuments and markers, and further authorizes the appropriation of $50,000 from the 2016 Capital Improvement Fund in all prior years for the financing of the gravestone restoration project, and it also appropriates funds from the Landmark Commission's 2016 Capital Improvement, 2016 Current Fund Budget, and the Landmark Commission's Trust Account. This ordinance will be further considered for public hearing and final passage at a meeting of the Township Committee on the 11th of August here in the main meeting room, and at that time, any person wishing to be heard concerning the ordinance will be given the opportunity to speak. It is further directed that the ordinance and the notice of introduction will be advertised in full in the Daily Record in accordance with law. May we now have a motion on introduction? So moved by Mr.
Second.
Capola, seconded by Mr. Bruno. On roll call for introduction, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
Mr. Franciolo.
Aye.
So introduced.
Where are you?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the next item of business is the approval of resolutions as a consent agenda. And you have all those resolutions listed on pages 2, 3, and 4 of your agenda. Are there any questions from members of the Township Committee concerning any of the resolutions?
Move that be approved.
We have a motion by Mr. Capola. Second by Mr. Bruno. On roll call for approval, Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Faramasca.
Aye.
Mr. Bruno.
Aye.
Mr. Capola.
Aye.
And Mr. Franciolo.
Aye.
We also have our raffle applications as a consent agenda. Raffle applications 2930, 2931, 2932, 2933, 2934, 2935, 2936, and 2937.
Mr. Giorgio, prior to proceeding with the raffle applications,
Payment
anything-
of bills.
Yeah, no, we have a comment on item I, endorsing and supporting the passage of Assembly Bill number 3686. Ace, Tom, Committeeman Gallagher.
Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to comment quickly on I, which endorses and supports the passage of an Assembly Bill 3686, designated as the Ralph and David's Law, which would establish a third-degree crime of stricter liability for vehicular homicide for driving under the influence of drugs and alcohol. I personally met with Ralph's wife and 2 daughters after this was introduced in Trenton, and I said, what could we do to help? And they said, could we get the support of your governing body? And that would mean a lot, because it is in Trenton and sometimes things can be held up in Trenton. So I immediately talked to our mayor and our township committee, and I just want to say how proud I am that we are supporting this and endorsing this, and I will make a few phone calls tomorrow and make it clear, and it means a lot to me. I know it means a lot to my colleagues up here, so thank you, everyone.
Will Joseph send a memo of support on this thing directly to our senator, Cody, and send already down?
Thanks, Joe.
It's going to be going out tomorrow to
That's
all
fine.
the Morris County municipalities and members of the legislative delegation.
Fine.
President of the Senate and Speaker of the Assembly.
You have raffle? Did you do your raffle? Okay.
Yes, we have to go back to payment of bills. Let's have a motion first, maybe on the payment of bills.
$6,025,914.85. So moved.
A motion by Mr. Farmas, second by Mr. Bruno. All in favor?
Aye.
Pay our bills. And then I read into the record the raffle application numbers. May we have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Nicola, seconded by Mr. Gallagher. All in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Township Committee, that clears the agenda of the Business Administrator, Township Clerk, and I thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. For all in attendance tonight, and you heard me throw a little pun to a gentleman in the back of the room, but I want you to know that in our room, we're honored today to have the mayor who held this seat, a mayor's mayor, held this seat for 37 years, and that's Sal Iannaccone. Sal, how you doing, kiddo? Let me tell you, we sat here for 37 years. God bless him. He deserves it every moment. On that note, all right, gentlemen, I'm going to motion for to open the meeting to the public.
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, the podium, the floor is open. If you would like to address the Township Committee at this time, giving us your name and address for the record. Counselor, you had wanted an opportunity to make a presentation or make comment.
I do. If anybody else wanted to go before us, they might. I don't know if there's anyone else here.
Fine. If you want to hold the floor for anyone else who would like to comment before this. Seeing none?
Okay.
You've got the floor. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Nick Rassiopi. I'm with the law firm of Riker Danzig. I actually represent JMF, not Mon. There's been a lot of discussion because of their transaction and what Mon is proposing on JMF's property. And we thought, in an informal manner, that Mon could give you a little more information about who they are, what their facility is about, and do it in a short presentation here today, if you don't mind.
We have a limited amount of time, Counselor, but if you,
Of course.
I think the committee is receptive to hearing
Of
more
course,
about
and,
what.
we really thank you and appreciate it. So, Tatiana, do you want to take it from here? Just introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yep. Hi, my name is Tatiana Remick, and I work for Man USA. We're currently in the Township of Wayne today. The idea for us here today, and I have my colleagues with me, is we'd like to give you a brief overview of who Man is globally and locally here in New Jersey. And then I will do a quick overview of that and then pass it on to my colleagues who can explain a little bit more about our plans for the Morris Plain location. Yep, do you want me to do that? Sure, we can do, yep, absolutely. At any point in time, as he had said, this is informal. The objective here today, we have a presentation for all of you to perhaps take with you and take the time to read and follow along. But the idea here today is to come to you and be as transparent as possible and have you get to know us as best as possible. So as we go through this, please ask any questions that you feel. Feel free to interrupt myself or any one of my colleagues and ask any questions that may come up as we go through the presentation.
Once again, I'm going to interject, and we very much appreciate the fact that you want to give us the information about the company. Some of us are very intimate with what your company does and who you are. If we're going to go through this entire presentation tonight in the sheet by sheet as you have here, I'm going to ask my committeemen to extend this into Friday. So that being said, I guess you get the gist of it, and I'm hoping you can encapsulate your comments to us a little.
I can absolutely do that. And again, these are yours to take. And if you have further questions, we can certainly leave our contact information and you can contact us at a later time. MAN is a family-owned and family-operated company. They started in France in 1871. We've been here in the U.S. since 1973. We've been in Wayne Township since 1986. I wanted to point out, the one thing that I think is interesting to point out is who we are in Wayne. We have been part of the Wayne community for the past 30 years. We've never had any complaints in terms of our town. We are located in a fairly residential area, and unfortunately these pages aren't numbered, but the third to last page will show you a location of our facility today as it is surrounded by residents. MAN is a fragrance and flavor company. Globally, we have 25 manufacturing facilities around the world. We are in every major market. We are the number 6 global fragrance and flavor company. It is important to note that the project that is being planned for the Morris Plains site is fragrance only. It is not flavors. I don't know if there's any other. A little bit about us. In terms of our sustainability platform, we, again, as I mentioned, we are a family-owned company. The family values have been very focused on the environment and sustainability since the beginning of time, not from some trendy sort of sustainability platform, but really being part of every community where we participate in since the 1800s. With that said, we have a platform where we've worked with the United Nations in terms of sustainability of supply chain, quality of raw materials, working with communities. The environment is a big part of what we do, and like I said, being in a residential area is not atypical for a fragrance company. To me, our record speaks for itself in terms of the last 30 years with the Township of Wayne. If I want to bring my colleagues out and talk a little bit more specifically about the plans for Morris Plains itself and any questions you may have regarding those plans.
You made an earlier comment that in the 30-plus odd years that you've been in Wayne, you've had absolutely no complaints or issues or involvement with the citizenry?
No, none, sir.
None?
None.
Okay, thank you. All right. You'd like to present someone else?
Do you want to, if you take, again, just sort of jumping around through the presentation, the last 2 pages speak more specifically about the plan for Morris Plains. My colleague can talk to it in a little bit more detail.
Hi, my name is Chuck Milkey from Maine, USA. Basically, at the Morris Plains site, we're going to be building a new manufacturing plant. It's about 150,000 square feet. Primarily, all we do is we combine liquid fragrances for customers who then put them in their end products. We'll have warehousing. We'll have tank farms within the building. We'll have blending of our operations where we just mix our materials. We package that out and ship it back out to the customers. The other building on this site, which is already existing, will be turned into a creative center. That's really going to be our fragrance, marketing, sales, consumer insight folks. Our lab support will be there for the manufacturing plant as well. And that's really just a coherent thing. And the other building on the site, which is building 1000, that will be demolished and that'll become our parking area. As part of our plant operation, we use carbon absorption on the exhaust of the systems, which we use in Wayne as well. That keeps us from having any problems with the neighbors. We've been running that way for 30 years. We don't anticipate any changes by moving this to this site as well. Any questions?
Gentlemen, you have any questions?
I guess I have one question. Obviously, this facility is not being proposed to be built here in Hanover Township. It would be Morris Plains,
Yes.
right on the border, obviously. So unfortunately for us, if it gets built, we don't get any tax revenue. Is there something or some member of your team who might be able to explain to ourselves and the members of the public, selfishly, what's in this for Hanover Township?
That's very good.
Well, actually, we're going to be transferring all our people here. We actually plan to hire more people at this operation as well. So it'll probably be a growth of about 50 people.
How many do you employ currently in Wayne?
I think we're about 160 right now. 150, 160.
So 150 and maybe going to 200.
Yes.
So there's the potential for more traffic on our streets, but once again, what do you think would be in it for him? I mean, if you were out of state, we might say, hey, there's going to be a lot of people relocating, maybe the price, home values may go up.
I don't know that for sure. I can't talk about people moving real estate, but obviously there'd be a support to local businesses in terms of food and other things, and local eateries and probably gas stations and things of that nature as well going through the area.
Okay, thank you.
Well, let me ask a very specific question, and I don't know if you're the individual that should even answer it, rather than counsel. Well, tell me, what is it about this restrictive covenant that your company feels so strongly has to be removed that it may or may not affect their application?
I think in the sense from what I understand of the company, I haven't been there a long time, this is a long-term investment for this company. They plan to have this business here for 30, 50 years. And so that looks like an obvious concern of them that down the road, spending $80 to $100 million at this site will prevent us from operating our business and continuing to grow.
Would prevent you from operating your business on the basis of the language presently in the deed restriction and the covenant?
I think it just...
I could answer this a little bit.
That's a Counselor, do you want to answer this question?
Yeah, I don't represent Mon, they're represented by Sills, but from what I gather is we don't think it applies, and that's what we say in our papers. But they just don't want to be exploited. They don't want somebody to use that restrictive covenant after we've spent $80 to $100 million with some nuisance claim to try to get money. They want to invest in this property into the community, $80 to $100 million, 200 employees, and all the next 30 to 50 years, as he says. That's what their plan is. So they don't want to be hassled by these nuisance complaints. We don't expect it to happen, but out of an abundance of caution, I think that's why this restrictive covenant even came up.
Well, I think that's one of the critical issues that our community has is in understanding why you would want to, if you're going to operate in such an ethical, straightforward manner, why this covenant stands in your way when you say it's not going to be affected.
Now we didn't ask. We asked for alternative relief also, we didn't say the covenant had to be removed. We said either remove it because it's a 1950s covenant, which was intended to prevent diseases at the time and dangerous activities. Now, before regulations. Today we have a myriad of regulations, especially in New Jersey. As we all know, New Jersey is one of the heaviest regulated states in the nation. So those covenants are really not necessary. But even having said that, we really pleaded in the alternative. We said, Judge, we don't think you need it because it's a 1950s covenant that was directed at diseases such as cholera. That's where it started from. Cholera and explosive activities. You don't need that anymore because of all our regulations. But if you feel you don't want to get rid of the covenant, leave it there. Just say that we're not, this use that we're proposing does not run afoul of it. so that they can spend $80 to $100 million and feel comfortable that they're not going to be harassed by nuisance suits. That was, I believe, their reasoning. I don't represent them, but I believe that's their reasoning.
And just to reiterate, that's right on. And it's more also the vague nature. When you talk about fragrances, obviously you talk about odors, and I'm going to ask Chuck to address some of the concerns with odor in a minute.
Ma'am, could you go to the microphone, because we're trying to record and we're not getting you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. No, I just...
To complement what he's saying, it's the vague nature of the covenant that I think our legal team had an issue with, because I believe the wording is noxious odors, and when you talk about odors and you talk about fragrances could, it's very subjective in terms of what is it a good odor, is it a bad odor? So I think it's the vague nature of the covenant that really prompted our legal team to request the motion. Now, with respect to the odors or smells themselves, I'll let Chuck talk a little bit about in terms of the technology and how we are going to cycle the air and
Well, I really don't want to get into the intricacies of a hearing. So if you want to continue on with your presentation to tell us about whatever it is you had planned to bring forward to us in the way of architecture or whatever it is in your presentation, that's fine. But I don't want this to be steered over to the fact that this is a planning board hearing. I think you have one coming up Monday night somewhere. So on that basis, good.
Yeah, I understand. The gentleman had asked a question about smells, so we wanted to address that. And from my understanding of some of the conversations that have transpired, the odor aspect is one of the biggest questions. So,
if I can, just with respect to
Council, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. With respect to the restrictive covenant, what I think some of the public's aware is that about 300 residents received a lawsuit. And I know you're talking about coming to the town and being on good terms and getting off to the right foot, and certainly a presentation's helpful. But the introduction that about 300 residents have was a lawsuit. And they received a summons and complaint at their home asking for this to be lifted without any notice, without any presentation, and with the requirement to file an answer, affirmative defenses, whatever it might be, and defend this matter. So, and the township received one too.
Yes.
And we also received in that lawsuit what's called an ex parte, and it's not inappropriate, but it just tells us something. It was an ex parte motion to move this proceeding along in a summary manner. And what that means is you went to the judge and you said, you know, this should be a pretty short case, without any notice to the 300 residents that you later served with the complaint, or the township. And you said, could you sign this order so when everybody gets in the case, we can move it along? So to me, that was another issue that normally doesn't happen, and it didn't have to happen that way. So I think you should be aware that at this point in time, never mind the merits for a moment, but from a procedural standpoint, you really came in and you hit the township residents hard. And you hit them in a manner that was very unfair from a standpoint they didn't have notice. They didn't have a chance to know this was coming. Nobody likes to receive a lawsuit, especially when you're talking about 300 residents. And there had to be a better way to do that. So that's a little bit what you're up against right now.
Well, Fred, I agree with you.
Right.
I agree with you. You make an excellent point. Unfortunately, two things. We had really strict timing constraints, which are unbelievable. Now, having said that, we didn't do it without notice. The judge signed that order. We didn't ask him to sign it without notice. Look at the papers again. We asked him to sign, we asked him to sign the order granting us service rights, because you have to do that because you can't otherwise serve 300 homes.
But the judge signed the order.
The judge did sign the order.
And you did say in your papers he didn't have to do it until everyone was served, but he did sign the order saying it would proceed on a summary manner.
The judge took it upon himself to sign that order.
And that really isn't in the rules. I did call and ask if that could be vacated so we could start square one, so that the residents, the 300 residents who had nothing to do with this,
Correct.
could start at square one. And I didn't get the okay that we could do that. So now we had to file a motion so that hopefully we can wait for all the residents to get their grounds and their rights to be heard in this case, as well as Hanover Township.
Okay, but
So it's a very tough way to say, to come in and say, we really want to be part of the community, when no matter how you represent that, we have 300 residents who've been sued. And I did ask for that particular part of the lawsuit to step back. And if this particular company has a short time deadline, and that's the reason you did it, then you did it really to the harm of the residents. And if you really want to work with the residents, to me, that's just not the way to commit.
Okay.
And I think a presentation would have helped a lot more like this before somebody goes around and files a lawsuit against 300 residents individually. That's just, coming from the township's perspective. If you want to come here and you want to make a presentation, I think you need to hear it, because this is not a community that takes something like that lightly. I mean, this is affecting the potential use and enjoyment of their homes, and they wake up and get a lawsuit in their mailbox. Very difficult situation.
Point well taken. Let me just correct a couple of things. One, under the court rules, we had the option to require less time in answering. We said, give them the full 35 days. We don't want to shorten that time. Two, the judge signed the order. I didn't ask him to sign that order at that time, and I don't feel right telling a judge he signed the order incorrectly. What we said was, we have a conference.
We do.
Set up for August 5th, and we said, come in with your objection, and we'll discuss it with the judge and decide how to proceed. We have not objected to your objection. We said, let's talk about it August 5th. You made it returnable August 5th. We have a case management conference set up so that we can talk about this and talk about how to proceed and understand the township concerns about needing more information, and at the same time, when New Jersey is under tremendous strain as to keeping businesses in Morris County. Merck, I just read, gave notice, another 1,200 employees cut. Pfizer left. Quest, Madison, took people out of Morris County. We need to do what we can. We're sympathetic towards the town's concerns and the township residents' concerns, and we want to have that conversation, but we also have to be sympathetic to Mon's concerns, a new business that is generating wealth to Morris County. But I agree with your point.
We respectfully, have a difference.
Okay.
But with respect to the development application, along the same lines.
Yes.
A number of the residents, I don't believe all the residents that were named in the lawsuit have been noticed about the development application. Mm-hmm. And I want to request that take place. I mean, I can do it here, and this has no binding, it's not binding on on this application that's pending in Morris Plains, but it's only going to come up Monday night, because, I think that if it's that important that this property owner or applicant believes that this restrictive covenant needs to be addressed against 300 residents, I think it's just as important that each one of those residents has a notice and an opportunity to be in Morris Plains before the planning board on Monday night. And, I don't know if you're going to proceed Monday, but if you are, I think that you ought to perhaps start again and give everyone a notice so they know what's transpiring. Because right now, let's look at the residents. They have a lawsuit. They have to respond to it. They have an order signed by the court about a summary proceeding. And now they're getting wind that there's an application for development for this same project on Monday night. If you're telling me that this particular applicant doesn't have issues with their present municipality, I don't think that, I've never seen a situation where someone wants to come to town and has all this before them. So my suggestion would be, and my request is, to notice these residents and reschedule a hearing so that they can be heard. And and we don't have to have that type of discussion on Monday night.
We'll consider that for sure.
This is, John, I'm going to hold on. I know you have anticipated a particular direction for your presentation, but you're hearing a very strong answer from council as to the position of Hanover Township on this. And needless to say, a lot of unhappy people in our community. I'll make one comment, and then Deputy Mayor Faramoska would like to make a comment. This particular facility, the quality of it, of the facility is probably premier. There's no question to my mind about that. The location of this facility is the issue in the minds of a lot of the constituents in my community. You will be, unlike Wayne, which you say you're within 50 or 60 feet of a residential area, in Hanover Township, you'll be similarly within 100 or so feet of a residential area. And I might say a premier residential area of the Trailwoods community in our township. These residents have a lot of questions and concerns, and I can't say that I wouldn't have the very same questions regarding the values of their homes, regardless of the quality of the plant, the pilot plant that you're putting up. It is still a manufacturing or a plant facility next to, contiguous with a residential neighborhood where it's going to have some impact in future sales in the area. Just one of the many reasons, but having said that, I mean, if you'd like to continue with your presentation, or there's other things that you think you'd like to tell us that we're not aware of, then I don't want to usurp that. But I do have.
I'll wait until.
You want to?
I'll wait until the representatives of Maine have their opportunity to speak to us.
So the, excuse me, the last comment, we do know in the development that's around the area, there's actually building new homes as we speak now at $750,000. So this is a premier community as well in the background. So it's probably not, I can't speak to the homes in Hanover area, but it's probably equivalent. But in terms of going back to the technology, just briefly, we do carbon absorption, and we'll continue to do that. And if we need to do other things, we will do that. We want to be a good citizen in the town of Morris Plains and to Hanover as well.
Can I ask you, are you planning on bringing the same equipment from Wayne to Morris Plains?
No, everything will be brand new.
So it's new equipment?
All new equipment.
Is there a list of that equipment that as part of the plan?
Well, I don't know if it's it's not going to be part of the site plan application.
Well, if they're major pieces of equipment, it may be, but even if it's not, is there a plan and a list of equipment that which you intend to utilize in the new facility?
Generally speaking, we have HVAC equipment, we have some tanks, agitators, things of that nature. It's nothing really other than basically blending liquid fragrances together. There's no reactions, there's no high chemicals, there's no solvents, there's nothing of that nature. Very benign.
Thank you.
Operation, I'm sorry.
What type of transportation goes in and out of there?
We have trucks.
What transportation, I know trucks. What brings it in? Trailers bring in the materials? And do LTO take the orders out?
Trailers will come in and trailers will come back out. The material.
Trailers take the orders out? The finished
Excuse me?
product? The finished products go out with trailers?
They go in enclosed tractor trailers, yes.
You don't ship individual orders?
No. The orders could be from small quantities to large quantities, but it comes in a truck, goes into our receiving area, goes through its formulation process, gets packaged into containers from sometimes a liter up to 55-gallon drums, and goes back out in a truck to the customer.
We're also a one-shift operation.
Yes.
So the truck traffic is very much during business hours, normal business hours.
Yes.
When I looked at your application in Morris Plains, it indicated that there's 2 shifts. Could you explain?
That's incorrect.
Because the traffic report talked about 2 shifts with 60 employees on one and 40 on the second.
Yeah, Bowman had the wrong information at that time. That's going to be corrected for the
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Good evening. evening. I'm Larry Durrani, I'm Vice President of Operations. The reason why the 2 shifts was identified, that's our current operation. But based on our efficiencies and capacity in the new facility, we will actually absorb the second shift into our first shift and run a 1-shift operation. We anticipate at least 10 to 12 years before we would even consider the possibility of having to go to a second shift in this new facility.
If you went to a second shift, would it involve trucking during the second shift, or would the trucking be daytime only?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
If you did go in 10 or 12 years to a second shift, would it involve trucking at nighttime hours?
Absolutely not. Absolutely, it doesn't today. Okay. Our second shift group is purely manufacturing.
Thank you.
No shipping, no receiving.
Continue.
So the other thing that I think is important to mention and may make for a good comparison is Cody currently operates within that same general area today. Cody is a customer of ours, and we basically deal with the same types of materials. And the other thing that we had thought of, and perhaps this may help repair some of the damage done by the way that our introduction was originally perceived, we'd like to extend an invitation to have you come out and visit our facility, the current one, and learn a bit.
And the residents, of course, any residents. And have a tour of our facility, our research group, and as well as our manufacturing operation.
Perhaps that may help everyone better understand our operation and who we're trying to be, both as a company and as part of the community.
But just a question, there was a town hall type meeting last night, I don't know whether you're aware of it. From recollection, I thought that someone mentioned there would be in the neighborhood of 1,400 parking spaces. Maybe I misunderstood. You're saying there's about 200 employees? Are the plans for expansion, or did I just... Correct. Did I hear the number incorrect?
Bob, you mean the present site?
I hope you heard the number incorrectly.
No, the new site.
No, that's incorrect. The rough numbers, we only need like 300 parking spaces, and there's more than enough parking space there. We're actually going to bank parking space.
I think
So there's no plans for imminent expansion beyond the 200 some odd employees?
No.
Thank you.
That's actually the projected number of employees projected out, I think about 10 or 12 years, based on our projections of growth with the new facility. As we mentioned, currently we're at about 150 employees.
What's your manufacturing capacity anticipated within the operation as you open it? 50%?
We, the new facility is going to be phased. It'll be a phased operation. Our initial opening, will be triple our existing capacity.
I'm not talking existing. Of the new facility, what will be your capacity at the time?
It'll be quadruple what our existing capacity is.
Is that 50% of the new facility?
No, it'll be 4 times what our existing business is today, which we project out to be a 25 to 30-year plan. I'm sorry, I didn't answer your question?
So to answer your question, we would be at 25% capacity.
That's my answer. So that tells you got 75% into the future.
Yes.
Okay.
Gentlemen, any other questions? Do you want to continue? Do you have you want to continue, or
No, I think, as we had said before, we are just here to answer any questions you may have. And again, welcome any of you to come visit us and tour the facility, any of the residents as well. Anything we can do to repair the damage that was done, however it was done, was certainly not intentional. And, the idea is to come in and be part of this community.
I appreciate the comment, and we appreciate the statement. And on that note, John, you have...
Yes, thank you.
Deputy Mayor Faramasca.
Thank you. First, I'd like to address the counselor. Counselor, I just want to tell you, I think you used a very poor use of words in terms of a descriptor, whether it's a legal descriptor or not, to get in front of this board and tell us that you want to get out in front of nuisance complaints. I think to be very sarcastic. I find it very condescending. I think it's over the top. I heard people from Maine speak about that they're a fine corporation. I have no doubt that Maine is a fine corporation. It's a global entity. I think they do a great job in what they do. They're willing to invest $80 million into their business. I think that's a significant sum of money. I think it's a good thing for the community. I think it's a good thing for the state of New Jersey. While at the same time, there's residents who are affected, and these residents, arguably, these 300 residents, they've invested a few dollars as well. They probably invested close to $250 million, and they have rights as well. I think the whole manner in which the way this has been handled in terms of the noticing was very poor. I think the intention of what you delivered was very confusing to the residents. It required literally immediate response by some of these residents who this is their entire life savings that you are putting on the line in regards to what's important to them. In addition, I also heard a spokesperson from Maine talk about a covenant. I want to share with you some of the words about the covenant because I heard some different statements regarding what's in the papers about this covenant, and I do have those papers in front of me, and the reason I have those papers in front of me is because I'm a defendant in a lawsuit. I am one of those 300 people, and I read as fact in terms of the cover. This complaint seeks a declaratory judgment from the court with respect to a restrictive covenant to which real property owned. The property is in an area of zone light industrial. The defendants named herein have been named solely because they own properties that are also subject to the restricted covenant. I go on to look at the description of factual background, and there it provides us some real learning as to the nature of the covenant. It talks about an indenture, and the indenture requires a restriction, a restrictive covenant, which applies both to the property conveyed to Monroe Calculating and to the property retained by North Jersey Quarry and States. No part of any said lands, nor any buildings or improvements erected thereon shall be used or occupied for uses such as a brewery, a bone boiling establishment, tannery, slaughterhouse, piggery, glue, soap, candle, starch, gunpowder manufacturing, or for other noxious or offensive, dangerous purposes. I go on to page 10, section B, article 11. If it closes, assuming the it refers to Maine, if it closes on a purchase of the property, Maine intends to do the following. And this is where things became very interesting as to what you were saying and what this says. Maine intends to construct an operating facility consisting of admin offices, a research facility, laboratories, a creative center, on-site parking, a warehouse, and a manufacturing facility for research into the development, manufacture, distribution, and sale of fragrances, flavors, seasonings, and flavoring products. So I'm a little bit confused as to the statements you've made as to how they relate to this covenant. I just wanted to make sure that we were all on the same page with this.
Well, that went back to my earlier question of counsel as to what it is in this covenant that is objectionable and must be removed. And it seems to me that the language that's being spoken right here through the summary judgment, clearly captures some of what your company's involved with, or am I incorrect?
So while we don't have an answer for you as to how that got on there, and we'd have to speak to legal counsel on how to remove it, we did have this conversation this morning, and you are right in saying that flavor and seasonings are erroneously on that document. And the site is intended for fragrance, research, manufacturing, and all the other
Yeah, I can only
purposes
go
that-
by
I understand that, and I don't have
the
an
complaint
answer
which
for
was
that.
served to me. That's the only thing I can go by. Your word tonight is not written into this document. It's got differences. I also heard that we were going to have one shift operation. Then I heard another person get up and say, oh, no. Once we get going, we're going to have 2 shifts. So I need to understand the clarity of it. And I'm hearing many different interpretations as to what Maine's intention is, what Maine is going to produce, how Maine will operate. So I really need to get an understanding as to the basis of fact.
And go ahead, you want to speak?
No, I would say that I think we could further discuss this. If you can plan to visit our facility, we certainly can discuss in further detail any questions that you may have. And I think we can probably provide you with solutions to those questions. I can assure you it is my responsibility to manage the manpower on the manufacturing side, and it will be a one-shift operation.
One shift operation today, tomorrow, and for as long as Maine exists in that facility.
No, sir, I can't. I cannot.
We just have to have the facts straight. It's got to be. It's
again,
like
based
there's
on our
one
based
and
on
there's
our
2.
based on our business model, we anticipate that there will be a need for a second shift, probably midway through our 30-year plan.
Then just say that your intention is that you're going to have 2 shifts. Don't tell me it's 1 and then it's 2. Just be honest and forthright and candid. There's too much information here that's not clear, and there's been too many statements that are not in agreement with one another. All I can go by is this 200-page document that was delivered to my home 4 times, along with 300 other people that knock on my door almost every other day saying, what's happening, what's going on, why is this happening to us? I have this in my deed, John, and what are you people doing about it? So it's like, there's a lot of issues here, and I think we need to be very clear with the facts. That's all I'm trying to do. Make sure this record stays very, very clear, and I would anticipate receiving perhaps another one of these documents which has clear statement of what the facts are.
While I appreciate what the deputy mayor is saying, and I completely agree with what he's saying, I don't think it'll change the position of this township and the outcome. And that is, we're most concerned with this kind of use where it is. That's what it boils down to. There are other factors that we're concerned with the use, and of course we have our own internal problems with traffic through the area, but that doesn't concern you, although you'll contribute to it, but that's something that we're also taking a look at. I think that if the plant, and I understand there's availability of this land and this particular facility, a particular piece of property, but there are properties in many zones in our townships and in the townships of Morris Plains, etc., that are more industrialized and can probably better suited for this, where it has no impact to residential neighborhoods, perceived or otherwise, in any way, shape, or form. So, but having said that, I don't know if there's too much more that we can discuss tonight or hear tonight. I think it's been a good exchange in one sense. I mean, you think you got a very clear picture of the taste that's left in Hanover's mouth, and from a public relations standpoint, I think it was botched. I think that these residents, 280 odd residents, and I'm only speaking for the ones in my town. I don't know what the other impact of the other community of Morris Plains is, but are entitled to, or would have been entitled to, a lot of advance notice, whether it came from personal letters or opportunities for meetings prior to you even taking this action. I can't think of anything that would have been better than to have them in a room where you discuss what your proposal was before you slam the door with a summary judgment that they're all compelled to answer. And now you've put them into motion, and you're causing them now expense and concern, and I don't know what else to comment at this point. I appreciate the fact that the company like MAN wants to do whatever is necessary to make amends for this situation. I don't know in what form that would come at this point. That's my only comment. Is there any other comment from the Township Committee?
I just got one other.
John?
I received several phone calls at my office today. My wife had visitors at the home There were other people asking her questions, not part of the 300, interestingly enough, but people who live in Morris Plains. So I don't know what you're doing in terms of notifying people in the borough as to what you're doing, but they're not aware of it. They're very upset about it because they're saying, how can this be done without any kind of awareness on our part? Because I live even closer, John, to that facility that's proposed than you do. And how come I, who live on Beach, didn't get any kind of notification about this? I couldn't comment. I can't comment because I have no information, I have no learning about whether they got noticed, whether they didn't. Their perception, at least, was they didn't, nor did the people who live on Parker, nor did the people who live adjacent to Friendly's and other streets which are immediately adjacent to the property which you plan on purchasing. So I think Maine is an upstanding, terrific company, but I think your introduction to the neighborhood is very poor. And a little bit better communication would have gone a whole lot further.
Well, and thank you, and we do really appreciate your words, and I think if tonight brought anything to light for us was that perspective, which quite frankly we did not have. I can't answer to why those people did not get notified. Obviously there was a basis from which to notify residents. I don't know what that is, so we can't speak to that. But
Yeah.
as we had said before, I mean, all we can say is it was certainly not intentional, and if there is a way to mend the perception of man and what we bring to a community, we're willing to have that conversation.
Well, I thank you for that comment, but...
Ron, I have one comment, if I may?
Tom, yes.
The one thing that's also interesting about tonight's exchange is the fact that as a committeeman, I've also received a lot of phone calls. Some of them even asking what this has to do with Hanover Township, because this property is in Morris Plains. But 300 of the families that we represent are involved in a lawsuit. So it is our business, and we do hear about it all the time, and it is our quality of life. And many of us in this community work day and night, and we chose this community to raise our families. So it is our business, and I think this exchange was very helpful for me, because people have been calling me going nuts, and also calling me on the other side of the coin saying, well, how does this affect Hanover? It affects 300 of our families, our friends, the people we play ball with, the people we see at the pool. So I think tonight was healthy from my perspective, and thank you for your time.
Well said.
We appreciate it. We wouldn't be here if we didn't think it affected the Hanover Township.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Council, you have any other comment, or you completed? I think that's plenty, huh?
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Okay. At this juncture, I remind all those in attendance, the floor is still open. If anyone else would like to comment from the podium, please do so.
That would close.
Motion to close.
Hearing none.
Second.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Comments from the Township Committee?
Want me to start, Ron?
Yeah, Tom.
First of all, Bob Mooney, our interim superintendent that was here for 1 year, officially moved on his career July 1st. I want to say that Bob became part of our fabric pretty quick. He was a fantastic human being, great educator, and we did a lot of nice things with Bob. With Bob's exit, Mr. Mike Wasco became our superintendent on July 1st. Mike is a great guy. He's already jumped in both feet. We've had a meeting with him Tuesday night. We've been in constant communication. He said his quote was, "Everything that's good I want to build on, and anything that's not, let's take a look at it. I'm going to be here for a long time." So welcome Mr. Wasco. He has many new colleagues up on this dais to work with him, and I appreciate the fact that the Board of Ed chose Mr. Wasco. I think he's a fantastic individual. Two other quick ones is, I just want to say we haven't been together for a while, and I'm sure Bob's going to cover it, but the fireworks involved all of us, because all our departments and all our details came together and did a phenomenal job. And I've had nothing but people tell me how wonderful it is.
That was good.
How great it is to shut the town down. Out here, it's almost like we take our town and claim it for one night and walk around like the kids think they're on Times Square in New York. So, Bob, I know a lot went into that. I know a lot of our crews did a lot, but Bob Bruno was integral in all that planning, and it was months and months and months that came down to what, Bob, 3 hours?
Amazing, yeah, how quickly it goes.
3 hours
It's
in
about
about
5 hours.
It was
5 hours,
great.
about 25 grand, but go ahead.
And the
What's
only
mine?
other two quickies are the School and Park Traffic Safety Advisory Committee had a public forum on Tuesday night. We did our evaluation from school year 15-16. We looked at school year 16-17. And believe it or not, we have a lot of people that are happy with what we're doing with the schools, with the governing body, with our families, with our organized sports. So we're working hard to make things better. And we made it very clear that we're there to serve and listen to them and make it so their families are safer. And the last thing I want to say is we're looking forward. The summer's going too fast. We have a lot of good things coming up with the Substance Awareness Council in the fall. And if John's next, I know he's going to go roads, because it's all about the roads. And everybody's been doing a good job working together in that department too. So.
Walmart's already got their school supplies out. Okay, John.
I echo Mr. Gallagher's commentary regarding the patriotic celebration. Hats off to the Recreation Department and for Bob Bruno for providing us a great 4th of July celebration. It was a perfect evening. Everything, all the details are executed so well. People brought smiles on everyone's faces. It was a great night for Hanover Township. I went to the kickoff of the summer concert series, and I recommend everybody going to the summer concert series. That got off to a great start as well with the Chicago tribute band. But as they said, it's roads, roads, roads. And it's all about roads, and the engineering department is busy. So far, so good. They've completed 7 roads to date. That's pretty darn fast where we are. They are now assessing plans for the balance of 2016 with the hope of getting those roads up to in the level of the teens. I can't comment exactly yet on that, but we're going to push as far as we can go in terms of the roads. The HSA department, Hanover Sewage Authority, was recognized with a significant award. They received the Platinum Award for their operations. And what's significant about the Platinum Award is that they came in number 2 nationally. And the only group that came out ahead of them was a federal base, a military base came out ahead of them.
Wow.
And what's especially a remarkable achievement is this is up there with like New York Yankees World Series championships. This is 27 years in a row of Platinum Awards. So hats off to HSA. They play an important part of our economic development.
Great, John. No, that is good.
Ron, can I say one more word before we go to George?
Sure.
You know, I recognize the team for the fireworks. And in that team, everybody assumes I'm saying DPW also because that is one of my details. But like the rec, you guys wouldn't believe how much time it took for the DPW to set that up and orchestrate it and work with Hanover Township PD. And they were there long before. I think by the time we were waking up, they were actually working and setting up even the day before. So, I'm in 5 or 6 different towns a day. And I will just conclude my portion tonight by saying our DPW is second to nobody. They do so many different details. They have so many different expertise. But when they're riding around in those club cars and we're eating Italian ice and hot dogs and getting Mr. Mahalko's popcorn, they're working hard, making sure we're safe and working side by side with Hanover Township PD. So they all did a great job. And I didn't mention specifically DPW before, and I apologize. Super
event, and it brought together all of our departments really, on that day. We should thank our Board of Education. And the reason I say that is year after year, for all that I've known, it's always been held over at Whippany Park High School in the field there. And there was great disappointment a couple of years ago when we couldn't use the fields because it was under construction and we had to pull out of there and find a new spot. And find a new spot they did. But not only did they find a new spot, they found a tremendous spot. And I think this is going to be the place for the fireworks in many, many years to come. So they did a great job. Would like to see a few more food trucks, though. I mean, that would have been good, too. But
hear that, Bob?
Food trucks.
A few more food trucks, Robert.
Mayor's hungry.
How many choices do we need, fellas?
Would really work well.
Sausage and peppers, come on.
Really would work well. The concerts were great. You guys did a good job on that, too. Fantastic. George, what do you got?
Yeah, well, as, you know, Committeeman Gallagher spoke about too, you know, we had a lot of departments involved between the rec, police, a lot of civic groups, support departments, individual citizens, Board of Ed, even the people at Pine Plaza. So I thought it was a great job, and Recreation and Bob's department did a fantastic job. The one thing I wanted to mention is I want to congratulate again Lieutenant Locke and Sergeant Carpenter. I know the two of them been kind of on cloud nine for the last couple of days, knowing they were approaching this important part of their lives. Unfortunately, is with heartfelt feelings that I have that Lieutenant Peslich has opted out to retire. Lieutenant Peslich is a big one on communication. If you go in his office, there must be 6 screens all over the place. I don't know how he keeps control of it, but I know he's going to be sorely missed. And here again, we have additional promotions that are going to take place. We have additional sergeant, and then we're going to promote a sergeant to lieutenant, and then a lieutenant. Then we'll take a patrolman to sergeant. And the best part of the whole process is everyone has already taken a test. Everyone has been graded. They understand where they stand in the mix. So the committee doesn't have to get involved with saying yay or nay, unless they opt not to for a real good reason. But there's the list, and that's what we follow. Once we get through that process, we'll then have, this is the one time we will have to hire a patrolman coming out of the academy, because with Lieutenant Peslich leaving, that drops our number down to 29, which should be at a max of 30. So the police department this year, with Sergeant, we had a sergeant retire first, but once the chief retired, that made quite a transition into the police department, which is going through this year. So we got a nice mixture of the young patrolmen, young officers, and the older members who help to do the guidance of these individual officers.
Thanks, George.
I thank you.
Robert?
Well, most of my thunder's been stolen, so my comments will be brief. But I want to thank the DPW, the police, the fire departments for coming together on June 29th. Why do we have 4th of July fireworks on June 29th? Well, simply the cost. It's less than half of what it would be to do it on the 3rd or 4th, and we're cognizant that this is taxpayer money. But I think it's well spent, really brought the community together. Special thanks to Denise Brennan, our recreation superintendent. Lots of hard work this year, but mostly last year. Moving from the high school was a monumental task. This was thought to be, and ultimately turned out to be, the best alternative. Last year there was some apprehension, why are we having it here? We're all creatures of habit, right? To be clear on the record, we can't have it at the high school anymore. There's no fireworks company that will put on a show at a facility with a turf field. They just don't have the insurance. If they ruin the turf, it costs a lot of money to fix it. So this is the new permanent home, and I think in year 2, we found much greater acceptance. In fact, I think some have even said, why do we wait so long to move it over here? And thanks again to the Board of Ed for their donation of the busing, because we do have those pickup points, which I think are working really well, and I think people have already found their spot, so to speak, as to where they're going to watch the fireworks going forward. So that's all worked great. In terms of the summer concerts, as John mentioned, we had our first last week. So we have 2 more coming up. The 18th will be one that we haven't done before. We're going to have a country band with line dancing. They're going to teach you. If you don't know how to line dance, don't worry. They're going to do some instruction starting at about 7:30.
Clogging and line dancing. I'm there.
There you go.
Texas two-step.
Audience participation this week for the first time. So we want to see a great turnout for country music and line dancing. And then we'll have another one again on the 25th. So lots of great stuff from the recreation perspective. We want to encourage everybody to come out. Knock on wood, the weather was fantastic last week, and we do now have food at the summer concert. So if you haven't had dinner, you can come and have pizza and Zappoli's and Italian ice. Really a great evening out and no additional cost. The cost is all taken up and borne by the tremendous sponsors that we have. So it's a great evening, and it's free of charge, which makes it even better.
Very good. Thank you, Bob. Very good. Excellent. Excellent. Having no more business from the Township Committee at this time, I'll accept a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Second and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Very good. We've got beaucoup work to do.
I called you. Yeah, it's a crazy day. I got home like 6 o'clock.
Yeah, did you get the